Banned Books Week is a week that celebrates essentially intellectual freedom is the foundation of it, is that we stand behind the rights of all users to have access to all information. Within your First Amendment right, you have the right to freedom of speech. What the courts have held is that in order to be given your right to freedom of speech, you also have to be able to have informed thought. And that's where your freedom to information is also tied to that freedom of speech. Courts have then subsequently held that libraries are the place where you get access to information. The purpose of the week is to shed light on the fact that bans and challenges do still exist, and that libraries choose to remain true to your intellectual freedom needs and typically tend to keep those materials. So it's fundamental to our institution to protect the First Amendment rights of all of our users. If we were to not take a stand against banned books, essentially our public would lose access to information, which would give us a less educated, less informed society, which sounds deeply intense, which it is in a lot of ways, which is why it's important to us to make sure that people have access to that information. A book banning means that the book has been requested to be removed from the library or from anywhere, but in this context, the library, and the library has followed through with the removal of that book. That's the definition. The popular term is books that have been requested for reconsideration. So any title that a customer has come to us requesting that we remove it from the library, not technically a banning, but it is a popular term that people use to describe that event. One of the fundamentals of a public library is that we provide information for all. So for a library to remove access to materials, it really has to be based off of other more objective standards that the library stands behind. So we have what is called our collection development policy, which tells us what we choose to buy and what we choose not to buy. So the book would have to fundamentally no longer fit that collection development policy for us to decide to remove it from our collection. So our intentionality is that if you come to the library and you get information from our library, we have vetted it, right? So through our collection development, policy and process, we stand behind the books that we provide as being true, as being, factually correct. And the same would happen if you went to, say the reference desk and wanted help researching. We're not going to give you just any links on the internet. We're going to find links that have been vetted, that we can stand behind the sources. Freedom of information unites us because when we feel differently, one of the best ways to understand someone is to learn their perspective. So right now we are seeing, for example, a very divided society. The intention and the hope is that we can shed light on both sides so that we can begin to understand the perspectives of those around us that maybe feel differently than us. How do I learn what your values are? How do we bridge those gaps if that information isn't even there for me to learn about? Bannings are happening, censorship is happening, both at your public libraries, but at your school libraries. And when those events have occurred, the most successful thing that any community can do is to go to those school board meetings, to go to their library board meetings and say, I don't stand for that. That information, whether I agree with it or don't agree with it, it is important to continue to protect the information of our community and the rights of everyone.